Good morning and welcome to the Board of Assessors meeting for the town of Needham on Thursday, November 20th, 2025. And my name is John Bullion and I am the chair of the board. In accordance with the open meeting law, at the beginning of the meeting, I must disclose to attendees whether the meeting is being recorded. This meeting is being broadcast via Zoom and is being recorded for publication, later viewing, and administrative purposes. Also, after notifying the chair, any person may make a video or audio recording of the meeting and may transmit the meeting through any medium, subject to reasonable requirements of the chair as to the number, placement, and operation of equipment used, so as not to interfere with the conduct of the meeting. Please let me know now so that I can make that announcement as well. Thank you. And we have Peter O'Neill from the Needham Observer here who will be recording this. Thank you. Next, we have public comment period. And there are no residents in the room. Do we have any residents online?
Well, other than Peter.
Well, Peter, would you like to make? Okay.
Oh, you can't see if there's.
I'm here, I can.
Oh, you can.
Yeah. Anybody online?
No.
Nobody online. Okay. So let's go to minutes from October 10th. So if we could look at our minutes and when we're satisfied, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes from October 10th have been approved. And then we'll have a report from Julie as to, we have a classification hearing with the select board next Tuesday.
Mhm.
And I think we're on it. Probably, I think we've been noticed at 6:15.
Yeah, I think last time there were several.
Yeah, there always are. Yeah, there's always are whether we go on at 6:15, but it's noticed for that. So sometimes 6:15.
Yeah.
So I would look to Julie to give us a report as to what is in store for us this week.
So November 25th, 6:15 is a class hearing. I did want to go over some of the major changes that we'll be seeing and also explain some of the things so that we're on board with that. So just so that we know where the percentages of the values go. 88.1% of our values of our valuation went towards residential. We have open space this year, and that's something that Needham didn't have before. And open space is like forestry land, wooded land, things like that. There was a major sale that happened, and in order to make the sale make sense, the sale was way less than our assessed value. So there was no home on the land, but it was way less than the assessed value. So by us making it open space, it helped us to reclass that land so that it would make sense with those sales values so that we're in line. So this will be the only year that we have open space. I might be speaking too soon, but
88% seems high for residential.
that's the valuation
Right.
from all of the money that we've taken.
Typical.
Is
Yeah,
it okay?
nothing
Okay.
typical.
Last year it was 86%.
Okay.
So, and mind,
So
we
it
have
has gone up.
9 new homes.
Okay.
And, it does take into consideration any conversions of a residential into a condo, so now that went from 1 to.
So what percentage is open space? And what percentage is
Not
commercial?
even 1%.
Okay, so commercial is the
0.012.
rest. Okay.
Yes, commercial is totaling about 15%. Roughly. It is over. I'm giving very rough numbers here because they're down to the decimal. So 88.1% for residential. Open space is 0.012%.
Okay, got it.
Commercial, and that's for the commercial buildings, those are 8.26%.
Yeah.
For the industrial, so manufacturers, it's 1%, 1.03%. Then you have personal property, 2.6%.
What percentage is farming?
We don't have.
I thought like Valenti Farms gets a different mill rate and they've got a few farms through of the town.
I think they do. I don't know what they're, yeah, I do
No,
recall
there's a
something. that-
farm,
That would, so that could be considered under the industrial, what are, I want this back.
yeah.
Can you tell me the name?
Well,
Volante.
check Volante Farms. They have a couple of parcels. And and also, what's that, Castle Farm? The lower section on the river was
Yeah.
always farm.
The one that's
For
got
that
down on
percentage.
South Street, they've got the sign off of for the tomatoes.
No,
That
no,
one?
the one that they were gonna put 42
Oh,
townhomes on.
Actually,
Yeah, Boston.
Yeah.
I don't
Say
know.
that one more time.
I don't think.
Foster property on the open space.
Foster property, are you naming?
South Street.
No, it wasn't
South Street.
Bart-
No, that was
South River Street,
Chestnut.
South River Street. Yeah.
Oh,
So the
Chestnut.
770. Yeah. But it's since the sale, it's been split. So it's been split because they're turning that space into a subdivision. So that's why I'm saying open space. It
Yeah.
probably won't be there next year. They already started building on it. I actually do have a number for the 61 billion. I wanna, a farmland.
Okay, so that's what we're looking at. And
Agriculture, I'm sorry, that goes in with the industrial, so
Agriculture, yeah.
5.3%.
So it's like, and what is the mill rate on that? I think it's like half.
The, I would.
Tax rate.
Look, tax rate on that, no, the tax rate would be the same as,
Commercial,
commercial.
but they may
But
get, it
it's
may be a
included
farm
in-
exemption.
Yeah,
There
or
may be,
yeah,
yeah,
lower
some sort of,
valuation.
yeah.
Times the
There,
higher.
there
Right.
is something there.
I,
61B,
yeah.
so it does fall under 61B, but I'll get you the rate.
Yeah, I'm
It's
just
up, it's a
curious.
certain amount, so the first, depends on how many acres that land is.
Yeah.
So the first certain amount of acres would be at full commercial and then the rest would be residual. So I could find out the exact.
Yeah, I'm
numbers.
just curious on that.
Good, anything else to report?
Yes. I did want to talk about the growth, because looking at the differences, and we'll see it in the packet for commercial growth this year, there was $64,600 only. Now, compared to other years, yes. Compared to other years, for new growth, it was in the million, and this is for value, not dollar wise, but I believe, considering that I came in only 6 months ago, I do believe that it's because of all of the abatements that were happening. When the assessors actually got outside to do permits, there's a short window before we have to close out for FY 25. So with the staff working on abatements and trying to do the inspections, do all of that, and get a lot of our major permits done, and by major permits, huge growth values, making sure we capture the full home completion, where we're at with certain things. I guess commercial didn't take out many permits. I find it very hard to believe, but
I think a lot of the construction, the big buildings, I haven't seen anything go up last year.
Well, the only thing of note is children's.
but children's we cannot count. So I think that,
They don't.
exactly.
Even
So
though
we
we
couldn't count that.
get to assess them at the office rate by agreement, but it still
We just
isn't
get to look at
counted
the
from a new
numbers.
growth standpoint.
I'm still not sure how that works legally, since I still think that's a contractual matter, not
Okay,
We may
not a
use the-
valuation matter.
we may use
so-
the assessors as a basis for something, but ultimately, really, it's just a contractual matter, because they're a nonprofit and they have a contract with the town. It's
Yeah.
like our valuation doesn't really affect how much BID gives the town, right? The pilot that BID
BID,
pays
right,
the
right,
town is based on a contract,
Contract,
so it's just,
right,
I don't know
right.
where that's coming in.
Right. Okay, so other than that, there's been negligible new
I don't-
growth in the commercial sector. Wow.
When you think of growth, you're thinking new.
New, any add-ons, additions, major renovations, not I'm changing the windows or maintenance work.
But this
Major
isn't net of any
renovations.
reductions in, this isn't net of any reductions in valuations, right? Because we may have overshot a little bit on some places last year and obviously had some pretty sizable abatements.
Yes.
But that's not what this is. This is
No,
just
this
what
is
the,
literally
all
just
the new growth. Okay.
So part of me feels as though, and I'm still researching it, is it more of the fact that we had such a short window and we were focusing on. There wasn't an assessor in place to kind of really look at the commercial growth.
Right.
So focusing on residential, because our residential numbers for growth are amazing. $293,750,602.
So 3 houses.
And that's, I mean, that's almost double last year. Last year was at
293 million, that's all
158
new
million.
growth
In just residential,
in residential?
yes.
Are there any big things? Not really, right?
Well, there are 9 big homes, a lot of renovations that were completed last year.
No, I'm just thinking like any,
Major,
there's no like, not even 16-unit buildings or anything like that, nothing new like that.
no, we have some things coming up for 27, but nothing happened.
Okay. And
And-
when you do new growth, is that net compared? So in other words, if a $1 million home is torn down and
Mhm.
replaced by a $4 million home, is the new growth 4 million or 3 million?
Right.
3.
It would be 3, but it also depends on the completion of that.
Right, yeah, the
So,
timing of it.
You know, so maybe we'd be able to capture 50% of that 3 million 1 year and then the
Right,
rest next.
right, yeah.
Does the new growth include the land or is it just the building?
Just the structure, the building itself. There is always that increase on land anyways, because land does appreciate.
Okay,
And then for personal property, a lot of our personal property accounts, they come from, the larger accounts, Eversource, our utilities. So personal property was 49 million
In new growth,
in new growth,
well, because of all the work they're doing around town,
yes.
it's like, wow. Wow.
So I did want
That's a
to
lot of money.
explain why commercial was lower, and I do just feel as though due to staffing, due to just fiscal 25 was a year for this department, so just trying to catch up.
Well, it could also just be too that if there's not a lot of expansion going,
There isn't.
because if anything, and we've seen a couple stalled projects. Pinellas is still sitting there. Right,
Ozzy's still sitting there.
Hillcrest Gardens still sitting there.
Hillcrest, right?
Muzzy's still sitting there. So
Right.
some of those things are still sitting there. I don't know if it's not necessarily the time of people to be expanding much. Right?
Well, it could be a combination of factors, interest rates, don't know
Yeah.
how the commercial residential market is going. Don't know, it just, I mean, things.
uncertainty.
Uncertainty, what are you
Yeah.
seeing on the real estate, residential,
Slow.
slow?
Yeah.
Things-
Particularly in the higher end.
starting to
Those
see them.
are not selling.
Houses are sitting,
Yeah,
is it that are they overpriced, if they were reduced, would they?
it's a combination. So it is the interest rates, but I do believe they're overpriced. And a lot of homes that are being sold, the owner, when you go on a call and you present, here's the number I think.
Right.
A lot of times, I'd say 75%, the owner thinks their house is worth more than what it is.
So
And it's a difficult objection.
Not when they file an abatement. Every
He just wrote that down.
every crack in the plaster is a disaster.
What I enjoy is when I don't get it, and then I look in 3 months when it's sold. And it's sold for what I thought it was gonna sell for. Because you'll always have a realtor that will just say, okay, just to get the list.
Right.
I can't do that.
Well, I think I told you, I often check the transactions that are in the Hometown Weekly, that page that has the listings there, the transaction. And if I see one that is significantly different from the value, I sometimes email or text the broker and say, can you tell me something going on with this? And I had several of them in the last several months where I did text and they just said, oh, it just sold at a time when things are really tight, but it's loosening up a little bit now, so. So that could be. Could
Depends on how fast they gotta
could
get
just
out
be a
of
little
there.
bit of softening of the market
Yeah.
at this point, or it could be. The recent run-up is causing people to price the stuff too high.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly.
that could
Well,
be
they're trying to
something
catch a
that-
hot market and,
Yeah.
and they're not seeing or not listening to the professional advice that, well, the market is changing.
Or the professional advice, it's not the client that's driving it, it's the broker.
That wants the listing.
That wants the listing,
Yeah.
right? They just,
Right.
it's ridiculous.
I think I've mentioned this before. I've only seen so far one case out of dozens in which the sale price was actually lower than the assessed value. And in that case, I emailed the broker and I got, there was a particular reason for it. Apparently the house, they had started to gut the kitchen and then they had stopped.
Oh,
And so the kitchen was all gutted
Yeah.
when they sold the house. So the
Yeah.
person coming in was like, although it's still a pretty substantial difference from the assessed value. But I think that explained a lot of it.
Right.
But I do still see some that are like 70%, 80%, you know, of the value, but. Been looking at it over the last 2 years, a lot of that gap was closed, you know, and a lot of them was closed last year.
Okay, Julie, any other elements to your report?
Just to finalize on the cap, so our average single family for FY 26 was $1,541. I'm sorry, $1,541,061. So that is the average, yes, that's the average sale price, and if we were looking at, the same shift factor, the average bill would be looking at about 16,689.69.
Wait a minute, so the 1,541,000, is that the
That-
median
and
sale
you
price
wanna
or is
say
that the
that-
median assessed?
Is it
That's the
average or
median sale price.
Sale price, okay.
And I do want to mention that shift factor, Peter, has not been voted on. That's just from previous shift
That'll be
factors. That's
voted
what.
on Tuesday night,
Yes,
right?
exactly,
Right.
but just looking at the history.
Right.
That's what.
So that'll be the average bill.
The packet.
I think that's gonna go,
Had like what all the shift.
Correct.
Shifted.
Yeah, that's
Right.
good.
1%, 2%, all the way up to 75%.
I'm thinking that.
Right.
Like little old ladies.
Do you have any questions?
Well,
Oh, okay, okay. Yep.
So that's for the tax analysis, and I was gonna move on to just where we're at with ATV cases. And I'll say the number of ATV cases that we have now, so we have 50. I want 50 with 3 withdrawn and 1 in favor of Needham. Yes.
Yep.
And December's going to be busy. I'm gonna be in ATV almost every day. Of course, I will send you all the link the day before,
Please
because that's
do.
when they send it to
Yep.
us
Yeah, I'm curious just to
to be part of it.
drop in.
Yes.
I just
Yes.
wanna,
Me too.
it's not like I'm checking on you, it's just,
No, it's
I wanna
absolutely-
see how,
It's interesting.
see how these,
It is,
How these
it
people
is
go.
interesting, yeah.
I think one thing that, to understand, Peter, about the 50, most of these are commercial.
Yes,
There's a strategy that's used by a lot of the lawyers, which as a lawyer, I find this shocking that this is allowed. But they file the abatement with virtually no information whatsoever. Don't give their own valuation. They don't say anything that's wrong. They just say, my property is overvalued, that's it. And we deny it typically just because there's nothing to go on. And it's the taxpayers' burden, at least of production, you know, to show that there's a basis for it. Then they get to go into the ATV and then they get to kind of work it out there.
But they have to
Or
file
stronger
the
vote.
information, they have to
They- oh,
file
they-
the
They
information.
have to file something with the ATV.
We get
but-
that information. And then we, you know, it's like you see what their hand is.
Yeah.
But we already have an idea based upon our valuation history.
But again, just think about this, if you're a lawyer like me, this is entirely alien because. In a normal litigation, like if they were suing the town, they would, in court, like say they were going to district court and they sued Needham for something. They would have to bring in all their evidence in court, Needham would bring in its evidence, the judge would make a decision. And then when it went to appeal, there would be a record, and you can only use what's in the record. You can't like go outside the record.
Before it gets to court, they have to provide, can't you
Don't
have
you-
No,
discovery?
this is- I'm saying
Oh,
at the trial court level, they would provide all their evidence, we'd provide all our evidence. It goes to a trial court, decision's made. When it goes to appeal, there's a record there, and you basically have to cite from the record, you can't cite outside. There are limited exceptions
Yeah.
for changed circumstances, but generally, you're confined to the record of the case to decide if, a mistake was made at the trial court level. This is completely different. This is like going into court saying, I want $1 million from the town for something, and you say, well, you haven't said anything, and then the trial court says, okay, case dismissed because you haven't said anything. And then they just get to go up to appeal and say, oh, here's the stuff we would have given you before.
Right.
It makes no sense, but
It's working.
it's kind of how it works, and we understand that the reason is because the lawyers want to spend as little effort as possible. So they get it into so in other words, the amount is much higher, the number of appeals doesn't really reflect like when everyone brings in all their stuff and we've had a chance to look it over.
What about the grand jury? I'm serious, and at a grand jury, the defendant isn't there.
Well, grand jury is a little different in that it's just one side.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like they're that.
oh, I thought you were referring to the recent grand jury where all the information wasn't provided.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But-
No, 'cause so when it goes to the ATB, you're just a spectator?
No,
no,
so we
they have
have
to submit
10,
information.
They
Yeah,
have to
you
submit
do.
information to us
Mhm.
prior to the ATB
Gotcha.
case
So,
being
but
heard.
it also, as I understand it, it's off, even if the town asks for information, they don't provide it.
Yep.
That should kill their case,
Mhm.
except the ATB usually says, well, we'll give them another month or two.
that's exactly
Yeah,
what it is.
they don't like to, kind of default these cases.
And it takes
Is there any
months to get.
discovery in it, in that when the hearing starts, are you seeing that information for the first time in the hearing?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I had one situation like that and they allowed it. And it was kind of,
So they're very loose.
yeah, it was, I wasn't prepared for that. However, luckily the information he provided was, it didn't help him.
But we've talked about this, and I think what I would like to see, we'll decide this later, is getting just a little more aggressive. When they filed the abatement, we send them the letter that says, and there is a provision in the statute that says, give us all your information about how you came to this assessment. Hopefully before we actually have to evaluate the abatement or not, so we have the information and we can go on that. And so they have to actually do some work in advance to make the case, and then, hopefully we can sidestep some of those appeals.
And so where we are today, when we go into executive session, is we have some commercial cases for which we've been given supplemental information that there's been an outreach to see, is there a way of settling? And so this is part of what we'll be discussing when we go into executive, because now we have more information. They're open, they've reached out to say, hey, because you never know what ATB is gonna rule. So let's see if there's a number or a place that we can come to an agreement on. And but you're right, there are just attorneys out there that just file this stuff without, we see this time and time again.
Yeah.
Where we've got an abatement application, no information, same attorney, and we just, we deny it outright because we don't have the information with which to make a decision.
Mhm.
They don't even give us a number that they're looking for in some cases. And it's like, this.
Yeah.
So,
That ATB hearing is private.
No, I think they're open to the public.
I mean, yeah, it's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see.
yeah, it takes
Interesting
months
ones
to
in
get
December.
there. So people file, it's like, you could be there in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. It's like,
Is there an appeal of any, what's the appeal route if after an ATB?
Is it Superior
You,
Court?
you
or
can't,
That's the general appeals court.
Superior Court?
I wanna
Or
say it's
State
superior.
Appellate Court?
I think it's superior.
Similar
I believe it
language.
goes- I believe it's superior. I only had one situation where somebody wanted to appeal the appeal and it didn't go well.
That's the general appellate court for land court cases. The
To
appellate,
where?
the appellate.
The Mass Appeals Court? Yeah.
we don't have any that have gone there. I can't recall.
No.
So it's, it's always better to work with us and us work with, commercial property owners, because, it takes time and effort to go to the ATB. You just don't know what the outcome, and they don't know what the outcome, and they've got property here, and it's like, well, let's work together to see if we can come to a resolution. It still has to fit properly. It still has to be valued properly.
And residents and commercial folks can come to you with counsel, right?
Yeah.
You have had attorneys here on behalf of.
Yeah, residents not.
Usually
I think there's
not
only
usually
been
not.
one or two that I've seen.
With
I've had
attorneys
a
for
few times with
residential.
attorneys.
And there was definitely one.
One,
Nights.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
commercial.
yeah, that's commercial.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the same attorney for
Yeah.
two properties.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, some of these attorneys, they're,
They come with stacks of them.
and they, yeah, I mean, that's their job. It's pretty,
All they
do they get a
is
fixed
invest it.
percentage?
Well, see, that's what I used to wonder whether
Yeah,
a lot of these were working off of a commission of, yeah, like contingencies, although I think Donna said she did not think that was the case, but I was assuming that was the case based on the fact that they weren't, because when you're a contingency lawyer, you definitely try to do as little work as possible for the case, and because
Even Morgan and Morgan?
yeah, even Morgan. You try to do as little as possible because it's more per hour, you get out of it, so. That's what I assumed at first, she says she didn't think so, but.
Yeah.
That's what I thought the business.
I'm an attorney that I know that it's their percentage of whatever the abatement is.
It is, so there are some that work that way,
Mhm.
okay.
So, when you have an attorney that wants to, we'll say drown us in paperwork.
Mm.
And we've set up a meeting, we have to have the information before they come in to me well enough in advance to have it reviewed by staff and us. So it's like, you can't just come in here and drop it on the table and say, okay, let's talk. Because so we've seen, it's fascinating how, different people, different representatives approach it in different ways.
Well, again, you can imagine though, like you have a commercial building, let's say, and it's worth $10 million, or it's assessed at 10 million, and you look at that and you say, that's probably reason, within the thing of reason. And then the lawyer comes in and says, well, why don't we just file an abatement and see what happens? It won't cost you anything. But if we get something back, I'll get some cut of that.
Mhm.
So you can see how that could generate more filings. Even if things seem like they might be reasonable at the time. And of course, we can't tell the difference between like, a good abatement request and something that's just like a fishing expedition, hoping for something.
At the end of the day, our approach is always, fair and equitable valuation. How can we arrive at that is through information. And then trying to, and that's the complexity of this, is taking all of the commercial properties and making sure that we're applying the same standards. And the same with residential. So, and as we've seen throughout the process of this past recertification year, there are discounts that have been provided to some properties that were like, how did this happen and why? And we just don't, there are some, we're trying to, Julie has a job going through, and we're trying to figure out, balance out where, make it equitable. And because like, why did this one property get this? So, there's a lot of work that goes into looking at each abatement request, and we had 390 of them. So.
And unlike a lot of the residential is fairly similar, there's little differences here and there, from one house to another, one neighborhood to another, but the commercial obviously is much, much more different in terms of new building, old building, building covers a large amount of the area, building covers small, it's just so many different variations in 300, is it 300 or so? Commercial properties, so.
So today, we're going to discuss several ATB applications and see if there's I guess what I understand, the applicants have sent additional information. And we're going to discuss it and see if is there possible settlement? Is there, a range of settlement that we could arrive at? And So that's what we do in executive. So it always takes time, because we're sifting through information, some more than others, but I will say it's been fascinating. It's been absolutely fascinating.
But these are things that mostly should have been done 7 or 8 months.
Well, correct, but
And I do wanna
because
say
of
this
how they
about that
submit
though
the
too.
information.
Sometimes what they submitted 7 or 8 months ago, and then they submit last minute something else, it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
So.
right,
That's why the sifting through is really.
Yeah, the ATB is not as, the ATB is way looser than like a real court, appellate court, appellate court, you can't do that, I mean. Rare cases.
Yeah.
So,
so with that, hearing no more discussion about this, unless Peter has any further, well, you'll have other questions later possibly, okay. Happy to have you ask any questions you have. I would look for a motion to go into executive session to comply with the provisions of any general or special law, specifically to discuss real estate and personal property exemption and or abatement applications which are not open to public inspection. To discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's litigating position. We don't have the second one, so I'm not going to read that. So we'll go into executive under those two. Do I have a motion?
second,
Aye.
aye,
Aye. That was a roll call vote. So we will go into executive session and we will